My name is Reverend Edward Pinkney. I'm from Benton Harbor, Michigan. Um, the reason I'm here to tell a story about Benton Harbor and also with my run and also with my activist knowledge. Okay. Um, I'm going to start off by talking about the year 2003. In the year 2003, we had an uprising in the city of Benton Harbor. They call it a riot. We call it an uprising. What happened was Whirlpool had started to outsource all the jobs, and they was trying to control the whole city. They was going to try to make sure that every family in the city of Benton Harbor be ran out. The first thing they did, the very first thing they did, they took control of the court system, and they started imprisoning people for no reason at all. They had one cop who planted drugs on 300 people. He didn't get caught until he had a fight with one of the Whirlpool sons. And they went to his locker and found that his locker was full of drugs, the drugs that he was used to plant on people. They sent him to prison for only 3 years. But some of the people he planted drugs on got up to 15 years. But that was the beginning. I have talked about this guy, Andrew Collins, for years about he was planting drugs on people. But nobody wanted to take part, but he so happened to be a white person with white skin, privileged skin. So they decided now, here's the year 2004 now, that they was going to completely take over the city of Benton Harbor and also our beach, Gene Clark Park. They was the first thing they did, they started taking the houses from the people. If you don't have water, if your water get cut off in the city of Benton Harbor, they condemn your home. That's what they were starting doing. They started condemning homes left and right until they got the 530 acres of land that they wanted to build this Jack Nicklaus signature golf course and also put these $1 million homes on our beach. But we tried to stop them. We did an election that year. We recalled one of the honchos who supported Whirlpool. His name was Glenn Yarborough. What we did, the way we did it, we went out and did it with the absentee ballots. We beat them by 50 votes. Then they went out and paid a man $10 to say that I paid him $5 to get the election reversed. And the judge reversed the election because he said that there was fraud in the election. Then they put me on trial for voters fraud. They charged me with influenced voters and also being in possession of an absentee ballot. Not that I changed the ballot, not that I altered the ballot, that I had it in my hand according to them. But that was not true. We all know that. The first trial ended in a hung jury. The second trial, they convicted me by an all-white jury that was motivated by something other than the truth. They put me on probation. I was on probation 5 years. But before I got the chance to actually be on probation, I wrote this article in the People Tribune. And I quoted Deuteronomy 28, starting with the 15th verse. It simply said, if you do not hearken unto the voice of the Lord thy God, and do all the things that is right, all these things will come upon you. And the judge said it was a threat on his life. He said not only was it a threat on his life, but it was a threat on his children, his wife, every person that lived in the city, in the county of Barron County. He sentenced me to 3 to 10 years in prison. But during that process, what made it so exciting, the ACLU came in. And before they can get me out, the first day I was there, the Muslim brothers came up to me and wanted me to help them. They knew I was coming. So they wanted to figure out a way, how can Reverend Edward Pinkney help us? How can we straighten out some of the conditions inside the prison system? He said, you should know how to do it. I had no idea, but I knew that I had to come up with a plan. So I told him, let me think about it. So the next morning when I saw him, I told him I had a plan. So I went and talked to one of the Aryan Nation brothers, a guy who had never spoken to a black person in 8 years. Never talked to him. He said he don't talk to black people. And when I approached him about it, I told him we had a problem, we need to work it out. He said that I don't talk to black people. And I told him it's not important whether you like me or not. but we got a problem that we can all work together on. So what we did when you're inside the prison system, you walk around the yard. And what we was doing, we was walking around the yard, and he would begin to like what I was talking about. Matter of fact, he got excited. He said, because he never ever talked to black people. He said, I don't talk to black people. I said, well, that's not important. And then I told him, it's not even important whether you like me or not, as long as we can work on this issue. After we win this thing, if you don't want to talk to me no more in life, I don't have a problem. And we walked, and everybody in the prison system saw this. Everybody. They knew that this guy did not talk to anybody black. They knew it. But here he is talking to me. I'm a man, a nick over 5'7", and he's about 6'6". And they just saw us walking around the yard. So when we finished our walk, he told me, he said, well, you know, I really don't talk to black people, but you seem like you all right, you know. And I said, well, you know, I'm here. He said, I'm going to go back to my people, and I'm going to tell them that we want to work with you, but he said they have to make the decision. So the next morning, he approached me. He told me that they wanted to work with me. Now I had the Muslim brothers, and I had the Aryan Nation brothers. The Muslim brothers don't talk to the Aryan Nation brothers. The Aryan Nation brothers don't talk to the Muslim brothers. So what I did, I decided that I was going to have a meeting with them and pull them all together. And I did that. Then we went to the skinheads. The skinheads now, they were the next largest group. And they was pretty easy to talk to because they had saw me walking with this guy. And they knew there was something good was about to happen. So I got the Aryan Nations, I got the Mexicans, I got the Puerto Ricans, and they didn't really like each other either. So I had an issue there. So I told them that, you know, this thing is bigger than Reverend Pinkney. It's bigger than you. It's bigger than you. We have to figure out to work this thing together. So then I went to the Christian brothers. Now, the Christian brothers was something different. They said that they wanted to pray about it. And when they said they were going to pray about it, I knew there was a problem. They didn't want to do it. So then I went and got the Indians, I got the Catholics, and I got all the Pentecostal churches. I got everybody together. At the end of the day, we had over 1,000 people in the prison system. Out of 1,400, we got 1,000. So I decided that we're going to use the buck-naked fish. The buck-naked fish was a piece of fish. Was the nastiest, smelliest fish that they serve anywhere in the nation. But they serve it to prisoners. So, but my whole thing was to bring people together. And that was a tool that I used. And to make sure that they understood that we had to do something, we had to do it together. I didn't care whether you were black, white, Mexican, Puerto Rican, Chinese, whatever it was, I didn't care about. Only thing I care about that we all work together for this main thing. So we used the buck-naked fish. When I say buck-naked, I mean buck-naked. Nothing on the fish. They just serve it. And it was the nastiest, smelliest fish you ever want to smell. They only cooked 100 pieces for 1,400 people. So you know nobody eats this fish. So here's what got excited. So now, we all getting ourselves ready for this big day. I had only been there 3 days. I've been in prison 3 days. And now I got over 1,000 people who's supporting me, who's listening to me, who's excited about me, about doing things. And I told them, once again, it's not about Reverend Pinkney. It's all about getting this thing done. The issue is bigger than me. It's bigger than you. So we all decided it was going to be the buck-naked fish. The first unit went in and asked for the buck-naked fish. And usually it's 160 people inside the unit. They ran out. Then we had everybody else to come in and ask for the buck-naked fish. See, they got to give you whatever on that menu. If buck-naked fish is on that menu, they got to serve you buck-naked fish. So now they was angry. They called the warden. They called everybody in. Everybody inside the cafeteria. Over 1,000 people just sitting around. And everybody nervous because they never seen people like this. And nobody ever came in, this many people, and asked for the buck-naked fish. So everybody's sitting down, watching, listening, observing this thing. They don't even the warden, all the guards, some of the guards that was off that day, they called them in to work because they knew something was about to happen. So here I am. I'm the very last person to come in to the cafeteria. And I goes in and the guy said, well, hey, they talking about you up there. But they didn't know because I've only been there 3-4 days. So it couldn't have been me to get all these folks together. So I gets in there and I order my buck naked fish. Of course, they don't have it. And I get mad. I tell them, I want my buck naked fish. They said, well, we don't have it. I said, the menu said buck naked fish. I want my buck naked fish. And then the warden, he's at the end, they say, everybody's talking about, is Pinkney going to go off? He's going to go off. But I said, no, I want my buck naked fish right now. I said, the warden, I said, I order buck naked fish. I want my buck naked fish. It's on the menu. So he said, well, they don't have it. He said, well, we'll do something else for you. We'll give you something special. I said, okay, whatever they do. So I went and sat down. When I sit down, the signal was once I drink my water, everybody gets up at the same identical time. So everybody watching what I'm doing. Everybody excited. They're anticipating something big about to happen. So I reach up, I drink my water. Everybody gets up at the same time and go dump their food in the garbage. And everybody get excited. We went out, it was like a major victory. Everybody was just running around. Everybody was real happy. The atmosphere was big that day. So now the warden mad. He calls in all the leaders, the Muslim brothers. He called the Aryan nation, the skinheads. He called in the Mexicans. He called in the Puerto Ricans. He called in everybody that was a leader in those groups, and he wanted to know what they wanted. So I told them to make sure you tell them that you don't want nothing. Because if you tell them you want something, they're going to lock you up, even though you're already locked up. So it got like this. So they won, so everybody followed orders real good. So now they're going to outsmart us. The very next week, they're going to cook 800 pieces of the 8 buck naked fish. 800 pieces. Because they said they're going to outsmart us. They said because when you're in prison, you're not really that smart in their eyesight. So they're going to cook 800 pieces and beat us that next round. So we didn't say nothing. Nobody knew what we was going to do because I hadn't told nobody what we were going to do. So Friday night, we spread the word around because they had already started cooking the buck naked fish for the next day. At midnight, we started planning that nobody would go to the cafeteria Saturday. Nobody. Everybody would stay in, and we'll suffer that day, no food. And when they found out the next day that nobody showed up and they had to eat that buck naked fish, they was so mad. And the first thing they wanted to do, I had only been there now. I had been there less than 10 days. They got me out of there. But the most important thing about this, we got folks together that's never been together. It doesn't make a difference whether people like you or not, as long as you have the same issues. This is why this was so important. And even though they wrote me out of there, because they knew it had to be me, they knew nobody else could pull these folks together, it had to be Pinkney. Every prison I went to for 4 months, I went to 10 different prisons. Nobody wanted me in their prison. When I came in, they would immediately stop me at the gate and send me someplace else. They have the paperwork already out, and they didn't want me. I'm the only man in the history of mankind what they didn't want in their prison. And also, during that period of time, I also ran for U.S. representative for the 6th District in Michigan in the prison system and received 8% of the votes, which was an incredible total. But it even get better. Now, on that day, about 3 weeks, 3 months later, whatever it was, I was released on a P.O. bond. And then the following 6 months, they overturned the conviction. But now I'm back in the community. We were getting ready to run this election. And I'm kind of almost like an expert when it comes to elections. I knew how to win, and unfortunately for us, we won 5 seats. Now we're in control of the city commission, total control. What they decided to do now, they got to bring in an EFM, and the EFM is the emergency financial manager. And what he does, he controls the finance of the city. But that wasn't good enough for them. That wasn't good enough. They decided to vote on and bring in an EM with absolute power. And when they brought in the EM under Public Act 4, he fired the mayor, terminated him, took his desk and put it down in the basement. Then he fired the commissioners. But he did say that the commissioners can have a meeting. They can have a meeting, take minutes, and then adjourn. You can't vote on nothing. He took their microphones. He took their salary. He took their office. Everything that they had, he took. He took it and gave them nothing. When he did that, they called me. They said, well, Reverend, we got to do something. I said, well, I've been thinking about it all along because I know all the things he's done. They said, what we're going to do? I said, what we need to do is start a petition to have him removed. He said, what we're going to do, well, I said what I told him, what we're going to do is going to take 161,000 signatures to have this man removed. And everybody is going to work. You're going to have to work throughout the state. So they said, well, we're not going to be able to get that many signatures. I said, yes, we can. If we put our mind to it and our heart to it, we can do it. Well, on February 29th, we took 226,000 signatures to the Secretary of State. And right now, they're reviewing the signatures right now to see whether we got 161,000 good signatures. So we've been battling. He's on his way out. He told the people in Benton Harbor, he said, if he stay, and he's counting on staying, that you cannot go to Gene Clark Park for any reason from May 23rd through the 27th. And that's great. But the best part about this thing, and want people to know, if you work together, you can be successful. It doesn't make a difference whether you're black, white, Mexican, Puerto Rican, Chinese, whatever it is. If you work together, you can be successful. These are success stories. And back to the buck-naked fish now. This Aryan Nation guy who don't speak to black people is now my personal friend. He's out of prison, and he called me all the time. He want to be friends. The problem was nobody black ever talked to him. And now he's happy. Remember this, the buck-naked fish.